Okay, we're up to halacha ches. Okay, he says over here, "Kishabainin hahechel v'azara." When they build the hechel and the azara, the hechel, as we know, is the kodesh kedushin, the kodesh, and the part before that, the ulam. That's called the hechel. Hazara is the front that goes, the whole front of Ezra's Kahanim and Ezra's Nashim over there, the whole front is bainin ba'avanim gedayus. You use big stones. The imwe matzu avanim, if they don't find big stones, bainim bilavainim, then they build with bricks. Now, what's the difference between bricks and big stones? The difference is a big stone is chiseled out of the mountain. It's a natural thing. Levainim is produced. You produce it, so that's called levainim. How do you produce it? You can produce it by grinding stone and water. But in other words, that's the alternative. Incidentally, derech agav, it's not negated to Hilchos Beis HaBchira, but there's a tshuva in Igros Moshe, which is a very important thing to know. When we have Chas v'Sholom Levaya, so they dig out a grave, and then later, after they put in the Aron, so the people fill in the grave, make a mound, a little hill. Today, in many cemeteries today, especially out of town, not I didn't see it in New York cemeteries yet, but many out of town cemeteries, they dig out a grave, and then they have a cement casing. It looks like an egg. It's an egg. It's two pieces of cement. It's cut one on top of the other, and when they put the nifta in, they don't put the nifta in first. First they put in one half of the cement casing, then they put the nifta into that casing, and then they pick up the other half and they put it on top and they close it. So there was a shaila that was asked by Rav Moshe Feinstein, is that considered kfura b'karka? Because we know in Lubavitch is mahada that in the Welt, okay, let's put it this way. In the Welt, what they do is they use an Aron. And in the Kasha Aroinus, they drill holes in the bottom. So it's a din like it is found in the Gemara, a din from Otzis Nokov. If you have a flower pot that has holes on the bottom, and you put it on the ground, it's considered like mechubal karka. So they also go with this shita that they drill a hole in the bottom of the aron. It's supposed to be a bigger hole. It should be a tefach steak, and b'meila it's considered mechubal karka. Lubavitch does it different. This is a thing that they started when they started the Shemer Adas. So Lubavitch makes. You notice, if you ever paid attention, someone goes down into the ground and he does something there. And they told everybody to stay away, and you wait for him to come. What does he do over there? What he does over there is the Aron is built with the sides, the four sides, the Aron, and on the top of the Aron, over here on top, there's a piece of wood, let's say like a 2x4. And over here there's also a 2x4. And in the Aron itself, there are large pieces of wood that cover the whole Aron, but they're not connected. When this person, when the Chavi goes down over there, what he does is, he puts his hand in under the nifter, and he pulls up those two boards. And once he pulls up those two boards, the nifter is saying that's a Lubavitch shahida that they do. But they asked Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, what do you do today with all the cemeteries that they don't allow it, and they use these cement things? So the Moshe Pasha is very simple. He said it's no shalat to begin with, because cement is awful. How do you make cement? You take ground stone and you mix it with sand, and that becomes cement. So it's awful. So that's the only thing that what they do is, people want to shovel the earth. So after they put the nifta, they put in that cement casing, and they put the iron in that, then people shovel into that casing, and then later they come with a special machine and pick it up and they cover it. So Melis, he's saying that we want everything to be natural. Natural stone means it's taken from the mountains, and then later he said if you don't have natural stone, then you can make levainim. Then you could use bricks. He says also, "Ve'ein maftzilin es avnei habinyan b'har habayis." Now he's saying, when you chisel out a stone from a mountain, it has like rough edges to it, or it's not straight. I mean, you have to be able to work with it. So usually, what you would do is you would trim the stone. So he says that the aim of tzilin, you're not allowed to trim or chisel the stones. Abim b'har habayis. You're not allowed to do the work on the har habayis where you deliver the stones. Ela mefatzlin oison or mesatetin oison. That means you trim them and you cut them mibechutz, outside before you get to the har habayis. By the mountain where you chiseled it out, that's where you do it. And after that, machnisan oison lebinyan. Then you can bring it in. Now, Shenema, Shaitan Pasuk, Avonim Gedoyles, Avonim Yikaris. Avonim does means big stones. Avonim Yikaris means
heavy. It means heavy.
Tiredest, expensive stones.
Heavy, that means heavy, schwere.
Huh?
Schwere.
Okay, schwere. Liyased Habayis, Avnei Gozes. V'oimer, and it says a Pasuk, Makeves, V'gazim, Makeves and Gazim. Gazan is a axe. Makevis is some type of a chisel. So he said, Makevis v'gazan kol kli bazel lo nishma b'bayis b'banosan. They weren't around. They didn't hear. So now, question is, there's a few things of him. Number one, we all know that when Shlomo built the Beis Hamikdash, he used a special worm. The worm was called the shomir. They didn't have it by the Bayis Sheni. They had it only by the Bayis Rishon. And with this he used this for these stones. So according to what it says,
if these stones were used as shamir just for.
I remember his opinion say that, but there's a moment. Is there a day that said it wasn't by the Bayis Sheni? If it's a machlokes, is the Bayis that said it wasn't by the Bayis Sheni?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm talking according to that day. We'll worry later about the other day. But the fact is there was a shamir. So according to what we're saying now, the shamir was used to get the stones from the mountains and to prepare the stones, like he says over here. But all this was done out of the Beis Hamikdash. Now, the problem is there's a Kesef Mishnah over here, that the Kesef Mishnah says that in the Gemara is mashma different. In the Gemara is mashma that they bring we learned the Gemara Saita, that there's a difference. If you look over here at the Kesef Mishnah on the aim of Fatzlan as Avnei Abinyan, you see by Ches. First he says, how do we know Vu state in the Torah that you shouldn't chisel the stones? Vu state. So first he says, B'melachim ksiv, avonim gedolos, avonim yikares, v'yisod habayis. Ubemechilta parshas Mizbeach Adama. That's at the end of Parshas Yisro state, B'mizbeach Avonim Tasili, state Lesidnas and Gozes. What does it mean? Rotzulayma Shal Avonim Oisa Rotza Shalavenim Oisa V'yafinan Minei Rabinyan Habayis, that it could be either this or this, and also that it couldn't be Gozes. Now in the next piece he says, the Rambam said they did it in V'chutz. He says, Gamze b'mechilta parshas mizbeach adama, aber b'perek egel arufa, that's at the end of Masechta Saita, Tonu Rabbanan, Shomer, the Shomer shabai bana shleim as Beis Hamikdash, Shenama v'abayis b'banasei. Evan Shleima Masa Nivne Hadvarim Kiksavim Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Advan means to say that it was whole stones, untrimmed stones. And then he says, Amoy Rabbi Nechemya said, V'chi Efshel Leima Kain, how can you say this? V'lekvanema kol eila avonim yikores Mitzururais b'mageda. They say that they were heavy stones that were trimmed with some type of a file. So the question is, it's a stira. Is imke my Talmud Leima nishma b'bayis b'banasei? So how does it stem that it wasn't heard when they built the bayis? So he says shahaya mesaka mibechus umachtas mibefnim. That's what the Gemara says. Rabbi said, Nirim divrei Rabbi Yehuda bi'avnei migdash, v'divrei Ramachemya bi'avnei beisai. That means that this end. Shlomo built two houses. He built the Beis Hamikdash and he built his palace. So in the Beis Hamikdash there was nothing, no stone at all, no work on the stone. And in his house, over there, he trimmed the stones. So, if we're going to say that, kommt aus from the Gemara, that it wasn't even mesaka mi b'chutz umachnas mi b'fnim by the Beis Hamikdash. That was maybe by his house, but not by the Beis Hamikdash. Upina shashi dvarim kiksavim k'mashwan even shleima masa k'moshe yisiyim in a har v'loi sitnua b'shuv b'kli basil. There was a whole stone as it was taken out of the mountain, and it wasn't trimmed with any metal. V'kiven the Rabbi Omer near in Divrei Rabbi Yehuda ba'avnei Hamikdash yeshur shmoya al Rabbeinu loma hevi Divrei Rabbi Yehuda uposik kirab Nechemya. Why did the Rambam paskin that they did work on the stones? That the work on the stones was, according to the Gemara, was by Evnei Beisa, but not by Evnei Beisa Hamikdash. So he says, "Ve'efsha the mishum the stam mechilta kreb Nechemya, and v'su the pashta the kro Messiah mishum hare pasuk kavasei v'achroes Rabbi eina machro." Why we don't go according to the Rabbi's opinion? Okay, so that explains this piece of Rambam. Now we'll go to the next piece of Rambam. The Rambam says, and also we'll learn an interesting Kesef Mishnah on the next piece of Rambam. He says as follows: "Ve'ein bainin eitz bailet klal." You don't build any wood that's exposed. That's exposed. Ella, oi ba'avonim, oi bilveinim v'sid. Either you used, everything was stone, or it was bricks. And sid is like a lame, like a mortar, like a plaster. Now the Rambam says, Ve'ein ois nach sadroi shel eitz v'chol azora. You don't make any. An achsadra is a porch or a bima. So you don't make any porches of wood in the azara. Ela shel avonim oy uveinim. It has to be either. If you have to make a porch, the porch has to be made from stone or from brick. Now look over here, Deravid. Deravid comes and says, "On the ein boiner eitz, Aleph means Amar Avram. V'haloi lishkas kayin gadol she'etz haisa." There was a lishka that the kayin gadol used, and it was called a lishkas eitzim. So how do you say that there was no? Then he says, "Ubesimplas beis hasheva, makif and kol azara gezustria." They built for the women in the similar beis hasheva along the wall, the whole of azara over there. They built a porch that was for the women. Ella, so l'chayre the chakasha on the Rambam. So what does the Rambam mean that you didn't? He says, Ella, the loy also Torah kol eitz, Ella eitzam mizbeach Hashem. This din is only by the mizbeach, because the Torah said by the mizbeach. We learned in Parshas, it brings before the pasuk, mizbeach avonim tasali. They say kor avonim. V'hi ezras kahanim misha nikna lefnim. Aber be'ezus noshim b'bahar habayis is mutter. The inside in a certain area, you no one can make, but you're allowed to make it in the har habayis, in the ezus noshim, which was not considered a part of the. Everybody can come in over there. Now, if you look over here in the Kesel Mishnah, very interesting Kesel Mishnah. He says over here, it starts, Eitz Kal, Omar Avram, Lishkes Eitz Shel Eitz, Masha Kosov, V'Arayishtas Kain Gadol Eitz Hoyso, Hochi Isa B'Seif Midas, Shalishtas Kain Gadol Nikras Lishkas Eitz. So he wants to say the Kesef Mishnah say that it wasn't really made from wood; it was made from stone. But in that lishka, they also held wood over there, and that's why they called it a lishkas eitz. Umasha kosevai uvesimchas beis hasheva ma kifin kol azara gezusra, that they make a porch around the whole azara. The Perik Sheni the Midas. Umashikos of Bezus Noshim Harabai is Mutter Klaiman, Vahi the similar base Hasheva Bezus Noshim Hoysa. Alzet Tires, the Shani Hahi, the Lushata Hoysa, it was a temporary thing. Because of Shom Oid, Ubima Shal Eitz, Shoy Oisel Melach, Besimcha Shas Hakel. In the year of Hakel, when the Melech had to read the Torah, they made him a special bima. Is also again Rishata Hoysa. It was only a temporary thing. Now he says, this is what some answer on the Rabbi's Kasha on the Rambam. Utmiyali, he says, I am having a problem. Hodas number per gimel the midas, the koisone shel eres hoyekvu mi koisel shel hechel le koisle shel ulam. Today, shlayivai. There was like wood, like banisters, like wood banisters that people shouldn't get hurt if they're pushed against the wall. They shouldn't get hurt over there. V'shema yeshlema Shalai Kavuim Mamish Kama Binyan, El Kavuim Ba'alma B'lei Binyan. In other words, that they weren't strongly attached. They were there, but they weren't strongly attached. ועל פי זה יש לתרץ, ללשכת כהן גדול, שההיסה קבוע בבניין, אלא בלי בניין. ועוד יש למה, שלשכת כהן גדול לא של עץ היסה, אלא בניין אבנים, ולא ניקה של עץ, אלא בפני שהביאו בעצם. איזה טעם? Now, what's the reason he says that because he said because tam v'tama for some reason the mistavahu the im loikain, if not for what I'm saying now, lama nishtanas lishkazul asoyis shalates yosim mishal lishkas shobinyan. So why every lishka was a stone? Why did they make this one shalates? He says that's a raya that it also was stone, but it was called Lishkas Eitzim. And then he said, "V'ayid yeshleima that Raiva nichalei Lishkas Kain Gadol shetahei shel eitz mipnei shesoiva." Shalis gezu benui b'mokum drisas ragla Yisrael, and v'lei osri ela misha nikna lefnim shu eitz lamizbeach. Umakshel Rabbeinu says kashi is shesosam dvorov umashmim v'dvorah shebakol habayis ein bainim eitz v'afil bezus noshim. It's how you talking? I'm showing you that they do build. V'das Rabbeinu yesh l'tares the kol hazorak amar. Hainu misha nikla fnim kedivret haivid, that they're not arguing, but the Rama also means from shar nikna, but before shar nikna they were able to make it from eitz. Okay.